as compared to what is revealed in the Protestant Bible. The first inconsistency that I want to point out is this idea that we can pray for the dead. And the idea here.
All right, so he's going to bring up First Maccabees. And by the way, I'm not like a Catholic or anything. I'm not really like a Protestant either. I'm just a person who like to follow Jesus. Jesus was neither when he started his ministry, so am I. But when somebody says something that I think is kind of questionable, I'm going to call them out. So this is why I'm making this video.
Is that if you have a loved one who has died and you're not sure if they've gone to heaven or to hell, you, the living person, can still pray for that person and your prayers can help save them. Now, Catholics will get this idea of prayers for the dead from a book found in the Apocrypha, found in their Bible, called 2nd Maccabees, chapter 12, verses 39 through 46. So I want to read that, and I want you to explain. I want to explain exactly where they get this doctrine from. It says here, on the next day, as by that time it has become necessary.
All right, so this is written horribly. On the next day, as by that time it has become necessary. That's too many damn words. It should have just said on the next day, and then Judas and his men went to take up the bodies of the fallen. There, you should have just said that. I don't know why they added so many extra words. It's so damn clunky. It's absolutely gross.
Judas and his men went to take up the bodies of the fallen and to bring them back to lie with their kinsmen in the sepulchres of their fathers. So essentially
So this kind of reminds me of how they took down Jesus and they ordered him a plot where he needed to be buried. Kind of remind me of that. Just a bit. Just a little bit more overcomplicated and stuff like that. You know, especially with the clunky grammar.
What's happening here is there were some men that were killed in battle, and Judas and his men go out and try to recover the bodies so that they could bury them in the graves next to their fathers. So,
yes, thank you for summarizing what it just said. We all have reading comprehension.
Continuing on, verse 40, it says, then under the tunic of every one of the dead, they found sacred tokens of the idols of Jamnia, which the law forbids the Jews to wear. So what happens now? They go try to recover these bodies, but what they find is that in the tunics or in the jackets of these people, there are some idols that they have taken that they shouldn't have taken.
This is not connected to anything, but I remember in one of the stories of the book of Genesis, I think it was Jacob. He took one of his wives, and one of the wives took one of the household gods, hid it under her, I would guess, dress, and then said she couldn't get up because she was having a period. It just reminds me of that weird story from Genesis. I'm going to look up what verse it's talking about. Hold on. So I looked it up. It was Genesis 31:19 when Jacob had a flight from Haran. You know, so that's the story I'm referencing to.
Worship. And so what do they do as a result of this? And it became clear to all that this was why the men had fallen. So they all blessed the ways of the Lord, the righteous judge who reveals the things that are hidden. Now here it is. I want you to pay close attention to this. And they turned to prayer, beseeching that the sin which had been committed might be wholly blotted out. So notice here that Judas and his men started praying on behalf of their deceased loved ones in hopes that, and in believing that, their prayers would somehow blot out the sins of these men who they believe fell because they were involved in idol worship. Now, not all...
Why does he talk like that? every word that ends his sentence got to be emphasized. Like, really, it's a bit too much, buddy.
Only does the Apocrypha believe in the false doctrine of praying for the dead, but they also believe in this idea of paying for the dead. And the idea here is that we can give some sort of money that will help save the life of our deceased loved ones.
I think it's the idea of recompensing for the sins of your deceased loved ones. Nowhere does it say, like, actually, like, meanwhile, in hell, your deceased loved ones hear about your sin offer, and now they're slowly going up the ranks of hell, because if you go lower in hell, then there's more torture. Up the ranks in hell, and now they're going towards what's that thing that's called fuck it, forget it, heaven. Now they're going towards heaven, and now they're good. Like, it doesn't say that. It's just saying that they are doing a recompense for the sins of the past with their dead ones. Purgatory. Now they're going towards purgatory. Now they pass heaven, enter towards purgatory, and sooner or later they'll go into heaven. Woo!
Notice continuing on in 2 Maccabees chapter 12, it says this: he also took up a collection, man by man, to the amount of 2,000 drachmas of silver, and sent it to Jerusalem to provide for a sin offering.
I wish that they actually had, like, they put, like, how much 2,000 drachmas is in, like, today's U.S. currency. Like, they could have just had a little box that tells you, like, this is $25,000. That would be very helpful.
Doing this, he acted very well and honorably, taking account of the resurrection. Now, later on in this verse, it says this: therefore, he made atonement for the dead, that they might be delivered from their sin. Do you see what this book is actually teaching? It's teaching the idea or the belief that you can pay a certain amount of money, and in doing so, you can deliver your deceased loved ones from their sin.
I mean, you're actually like recuperating or are smoothing some of the sins that your deceased loved ones did while they were alive. Like, if your grandfather, like, hit somebody with a car and stuff like that, and they need some medical surgery, and your grandfather dies before he can actually give them any help, his estate would probably have to take care of the medical bills of the person who he actually hit. So it's kind of like that. It doesn't erase the sin of the car accident, but it's smoothing the remains of the sin that the person did while they were alive. It's not that. Your grandfather is no better for taking care of the person he hit. Like, it's kind of like that.
My friends, I don't care how much somebody tries to convince you. What I just read for you is not consistent.
And they didn't even mention the afterlife, like what this person would go through in the afterlife.
With what the scriptures say. There is no way you can justify it. You cannot harmonize it. The Bible does not teach that after a person dies, then anything else that can happen, whether in their life or by their loved ones who are still on the earth, the Bible says that there's nothing else that can happen that can change their fate. As a matter of fact,
neither does this scripture say that either. It's not like they said, like, they paid 2,000 drachmas, and now everybody who was in hell go to Paramore. and 2,000 more drachmas would send them to heaven. Like, no, the text doesn't support, nor does it condemns what they did, because their sin was idolatry. So of course they would send money to Jerusalem, the supposed home of God.
Let's go read it in Luke chapter 16. It says here, and he cried out and said, Father Abraham, have mercy on me and send Lazarus so that he may dip the tip of his finger in water and cool off my tongue, for I am in agony in this flame. Now, let me go back. Essentially, Jesus is telling the story of contrasting the life.
I was kind of like thinking, when I heard Lazarus, I was thinking of like the Lazarus of like John, but I forgot that there was a homeless person named Lazarus in like the book of Luke. Like, I was thinking, like, Lazarus, isn't that the best friend of Jesus that Jesus lifted up?
Of a rich man and the life of a poor man. The rich man.
But both of them were dead, not on earth. So why? It's not like, I don't think the rich man actually had people on earth that cared about him, or either he would like say like, oh, send Betty, or send Betty to like send money to the church to get me out of hell, stuff like that.
Essentially did some bad things, didn't believe, and ended up going to this place of torment, whereas the poor man was comforted. And so notice it says here in verse 25, but Abraham said, child, remember that during your life you received your good things, and likewise Lazarus bad things, but now he is being comforted here and you are in agony. So now pay very close attention to this next verse. And besides all this, between us and you there is a great chasm fixed, so that those who wish to come over from here to you will not be able, and that none may cross over from there to us. What is Jesus teaching here? Whenever you die,
well, technically it was Abraham.
Your fate, my friend, is secure. There are no second chances. There's nothing that loved ones can do.
Actually, it's saying that nobody, like, physically, like, people in heaven can't go to hell to comfort people in hell. Neither can people in hell go to heaven and comfort, like, trouble people in heaven. It's saying that. He didn't say an earthly name and then say like, oh no, people on earth, they can't do squat for you in hell. It doesn't say that.
To somehow save you or promote you into eternal bliss. The Bible also says it again in Hebrews chapter 9, verse 27, where it says, and inasmuch as it is appointed for men to die once, and after this...
Why is in as much... Is this a typo? Why is in as much just one word instead of separated?
Comes judgment. That's it. You live a life...
Also, have this guy ever read Hebrews 7:8, where it states that the dead received, like, tithes? I'll show you the verse. And here's the verse right here, Hebrews 7:8, where it says, and here men that died received tithes, but those who received them, of who is the witness that he lived. So if we're just taking like Hebrew verses and we're just saying sentences, this seems like it's talking about giving money towards the dead. If we're taking like Hebrew verses and just putting it out there. So it seems like it support the Maccabee or the Catholic version of the whole idea of getting alms to the dead. But I'm going to end it right here. I don't really want to care further. This video already went too long. Please like and subscribe to the channel. I'm out, guys.